Again, this is Parley, had a little bit of humor, we had some points of information, they kept track of their time. So what I'm going to do, this is just really simple. Typically you would have a full ballot and you score, but we're not going to do all that. So I'm going to give you a little piece of paper. Write G for government if you think that they won. Or you're going to write O for opposition if you think that they won. So you can take a minute, we're going to talk about other things as you write, and then in about 5 minutes I'm going to call for your little piece of paper, okay? So I'm going to hand these out,
Can't they just write it on their ballots? Or their flow sheet rather?
They can, if you guys want to. I'm going to collect them in a little cup. You may not fit.
Maybe do a show of hands. I mean, that might be.
You want to do a show of hands? You all feel good about that? Okay, are you all ready? Are you all ready to vote? Ready to vote? Okay, do not let others sway you. Just vote, vote for yourself. Like, don't even, yeah. Okay, so, who thinks the government team won? Show of hands. Okay, that's a lot, okay, all right. Who thinks the opposition team won? Oh. Wow, look at, I have a parent back there saying. All right, I think the government won. Okay, no more video games.
No, that's not the point. The point is that it's a more harm.
Yes, that's right. No more harm to good. Yes, I'm just kidding. All right, so you all felt like the government team best supported their argument, right? Even though I'm sure the kids are literally going to go home and play video games. All right.
Me too.
So we're going to have, we've got a few more minutes. Wanted to give you all an opportunity to ask some questions, and you can ask them of me or the guys here. And then before we do that, let me just go over the last little bit. So we had some folks that came in a little bit later. So, okay, let's see how this works. Okay, so we did talk about the camp. For those of you that came in later, and I think you all have gotten like an email or something, or you kind of know. When it's going to happen. So let me just go back over it just really quickly. All right. So during the camp, again, we're going to have Justin and David, David, Harrison David, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, on available to work the camp. We're going to do a 9 to 3 kind of general daily schedule. There's going to be a lecture in the morning. We're going to talk about stuff, debate formats, research analysis. It will kind of change day to day, but this is generally what we're going to do, generally how we're going to operate. At about 10:30, we'll do some small group work. Again, break you guys up and let you do some drills, some exercises to kind of work through what we've been talking about in the lecture. A little bit of a break, a little bit of a lunch. Some hands-on coaching. Again, it might look a lot like small group work again, but again, trying to bring folks some skills forward on different researching, writing, structuring your arguments, talking about pro and opposing cases, preparing rebuttals, that kind of thing. And then lastly, we'll have debate practice at the last part of the day. Okay. On Friday, we're going to have a little mini tournament, right? So again, we want to have the students to learn, try, update their techniques, update kind of what they've been doing, and then try again, and then start that process all over again, right? So just keep practicing, keep trying, and working through different things. And so on Friday, we'll have kind of a round robin style. So we're going to actually place folks in teams, and have a little tournament, see how folks do, right? And of course, parents are welcome. So what we are hoping the students learn during this week, how to research a topic. So for those of you who came in later, we gave them the resolution right as we started this meeting. So then they went out and prepared just now. Like, so in 20 minutes, they actually found all these sources and all these reports and prepared their strategy and talked about who was going to say what. So they did that in 20 minutes. That's actually pretty impressive, right? So we're going to actually help the kids kind of learn how to do that. Again, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of stubbing your toe a little bit and trying again, but that's what we're going to work on during the week. How to analyze findings, how to talk about meta-arguments, meta-studies, all that good stuff. Presentation outlines, how to present an argument. And I know that some of you have had some public speaking experience, so that's great. Developing leadership and being able to collaborate and work as a team, right? So that is generally it. So I want to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions about kind of what they did, how long they've been debating? Go ahead.
I think it's really hard for audience to know whether the data source they used is true or false, or whether any of them are faked. Are there any penalty if the debater use a wrong data source or fudged?
Yeah, so usually you get kicked out of the tournament, and if you do it enough, and depending on how serious it is, you can even get banned from the league. There have been instances of that happening, depending on what league you're actually in and depending on what the rules are. But a lot of times you'll see that whether it would be audience members or maybe even debaters themselves will maybe look up the evidence after the round. It seems like really, really weird. Like if they read, if he made the argument that unicorns, I don't know, are coming down and killing people because they play video games. And then I could like look that up after the round, and then I could, there's like a whole administrative board that I can go to report that, and to kind of like a whole like judge system to kind of evaluate whether that was right or wrong.
Yeah, usually in this specific format, you're encouraged to rely less on evidence and rely more on reasoning. In this specific format, because like you only get 20 minutes to prepare and it's all like very rushed and stuff. So the way it should be is that people rely more on reasoning, and then there's another format where like the other team can like ask for the evidence and all these different criteria, and it has to be printed, the link has to be there, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Thank you.
Are there limitations on what kind of sources you can use? Like, can you use Wikipedia or?
Okay, so
Use Wikipedia.
you can use Wikipedia.
The journal face is right.
So it's like not recommended?
Yeah, it's usually like, if he read a source from Wikipedia, then I would just get up and say, it's from Wikipedia, let's move on. And then, like, it's like you want to just generally like tend to go to more trustworthy sources. And a lot of judges will really make a big point that they want to hear like the credentials of your source. They want to hear that it was from a professor. They want to hear that it was like from a meta-analysis and so on and so forth. But for what you can't use evidence that like, if you emailed a professor and he says something about a topic and you use that. You just use things that are like publicly available. Yeah.
And I did allude to this earlier, but so I've known these folks for a long time, and I saw them when they started. And I'll just use David and Justin as an example. They started in the 8th grade. 8th grade. 9th grade. And it was rough. It was rough. It was rough. It's hard seeing them as a parent. Just get up there. It's just rough. But and I thought, I'm like, oh, okay, we won't do this again. Like the first tournament, I thought, oh, this is really bad. Clearly, we won't do this again. But they really wanted to keep going, and then you see the polish that you see here. And so, just want to encourage you all, to keep going on with speech and opportunities like this to do debate as well. You just keep getting better and better and better. So, go ahead.
So is meta-analysis often used to support your viewpoints? And what?
Our club likes doing it. There are like people in our club who like using meta-analysis. It's usually just like you're researching your topic and you're like, oh, hey, look, that's a meta-analysis. I'll use that, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily like go out looking for meta-analysis specifically. So,
So when you all went out there, you just started with Google. How did you guys get started?
So the way we did it, we didn't really start with Google first. We talked about like our general ideas, like the categories of what arguments we talked about, and then we kind of worked from there to, we got the argument first, then went to kind of search for support.
yeah, I just Googled video games cause violence. and then I Googled video game addiction rates.
And so yeah, we'll teach you how to like really effectively search for things to support a side. And oftentimes just X is bad or Y is good, and you'll find a lot of stuff. But of course you'll get more specific as you kind of have the arguments in mind.
So are there any more questions? Young people? Young people? Young people? No? 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 You know who you are, young people. Was it easy to oh, go ahead.
How long does it take you to not get nervous when you're speaking publicly?
Infinite amount of time. You never don't get nervous, you just pretend you're not nervous. You get better at pretending the longer you do.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
This may be a stupid question. I did notice that everybody talks super fast.
That's our bad.
Yeah, that's our fault. It's not always that way.
Because I know you all have a timer, so they're successful debater that doesn't really speak that fast.
Well, it's a good point. So is it better to speak very fast or not so fast? That's kind of what you're saying, yeah.
So it really
Mr. Fast Speaker.
Okay, yeah. That's like one of my biggest problems, but it really depends on the league, because there are some leagues, we can even show you a video, there's some leagues where people speak at around 300 words per minute. And that's like insane, that really isn't like applicable to real life. But like in the league that we do, judges appreciate like speaking at a slow space. And oftentimes you'll get voted against just because you spoke too fast. Because people tend to like the speakers who speak at a reasonable pace that like humans actually speak at, because it's just comfortable. And so yeah, so I've lost plenty of rounds by speaking too fast and just losing the judge.
So we debated in a homeschool league. This is public school league in high school. Hold on. Right, so like we don't do that.
So so they've been trained again. I know them very well, so I know what they can do to improve. But when you can give a judge kind of 2 to 3 key points that they can kind of latch onto, that's always good, right? That they can really remember, even though they've written things down, that they really remember those 2 points that you said. And the other team could give you, 10 points, but if you can't really remember exactly what they are, it's not helpful, right? And so it's a balance to give enough information and enough sources to support your point, but not overwhelm your judge. So that it's something that they can continue to work on. Absolutely.
I have a question about this flow. Like if you start, the government start, and then the opposite comes back. Towards the end, you go first, and then you end up wrapping up.
So the government starts and ends.
Yeah, so the last person say, usually the message stays better.
Sure.
So do you have an experience that when you are the G party, you win more than when you are the O party?
Right, so funny thing, it's actually the exact opposite, and here's why. The opposition team, they get 2 speeches in a row, right? So they get, in this case, it was a total of 10 minutes in a row. And so I only had 4 minutes to deal with 10 minutes of argumentation. So usually what ends up happening is actually people end up going with the opposition just because they have that massive block. So it's sort of a trade-off. Like one team gets to end the round and another team gets all that analysis at the end.
The thing is, that's like a difficulty, but if you can do that well and make that last speech really good, which Justin does a really, really good job at. If you can make that really, really good, then you can just make the judge forget about everything we said before and like win the round. So that's like a really, really important skill.
I can confess that I almost bought your present, but he came back with a good point that you're not arguing on the same thing as you're supposed to argue. You're establish your argument on the quality of the entertainment. So that's the main point. So that's why. But you guys did a great job. You all did a very good job. Yeah.
So again, these are things that they've just learned over the years. I mean, you know, being able to come back and have that be the thing that he brought up to sway the audience to go, oh, wait, you know, right, and to switch folks' minds over. So it's a learned skill. It's very good at it. Go ahead.
Like tournaments, does his dressing formally matter?
Yes, it does a
Yeah.
lot.
Yep, it doesn't happen with guys too much. I know it happens a lot with girls.
Yes. Yeah, you have to dress really nicely, like get, well, I know he's not a girl, but just for general knowledge. Yeah, so, you know, guys will wear suits and stuff, and then girls will wear like blazers, skirts, or pants. You have to have like, you know, certain length for everything. There's pretty detailed.
You'll get used to it.
We've had somebody almost get kicked out of a tournament because their elbows were showing. Now that isn't always the case. We were like in Arkansas, and that was just something that they did. It doesn't necessarily happen in like Georgia too much. But I mean, looking professional, like you sound like you know, you look like you know what you're talking about. Like just from like a strategic perspective, you did just nice.
And I think it also motivates you more in prep and in speaking because you, I don't know, when you dress nicely, you know, it makes you feel important. So.
All right, so we've got 10 minutes. Kind of close this down. So we've got snacks. There's like orange slices and strawberry and water. And if you all want to kind of come up and individually, you know, maybe in this context it's a little stressful, and ask the individual questions, you can go around. But with that, we're done.